Is Ford a buy or a sell? Let's get started with the model. This is a large cap company, 39 billion market cap. They're trading at $10 a share and they have 4 billion shares outstanding. Ford makes and sells vehicles which include the Mustang, the Ford Bronco, the Ford Focus, the Lincoln car, and many other brands. They were incorporated over 100 years ago in 1903, based in Dearborn, Michigan. Let's look at their financials. The way you value a company is you estimate the free cash flows into the future and then you discount those numbers back to today's value. That's what we're doing in this video. And free cash flow is cash flow from operations minus capital expenditures. They had a lot of free cash flow in 2021, nearly 10 billion. It was negative in 2022. It looks like they were investing a lot into CapEx. Back to positive 6.7 billion in 2023. It's down a little in the trailing 12 months to 6.4 billion. Really low margins, only 4% in the trailing 12 months. It was 7% in 2021. Net income is the profit or loss on the income statement. It's revenue minus expenses. 18 billion in 2021, really high net income. Negative in 2022, a big difference. They did rebound, positive 4.3 billion in 2023, down to 3.5 billion in the trailing 12 months. Razor thin margins, only 2%. Revenue is a sales for the company, and that goes up each year. Lots of revenue, 136 billion up to 183 billion. And they pay a big dividend, 6.07%. They can easily afford it. They can cover that dividend nearly 3 times with their free cash flow. We estimated 4 years of future free cash flows. We also estimated a terminal value, which is all cash flows past year 4, that's 66 billion. We discounted those numbers back to today using the weighted average cost of capital. We get a value of the company of $63 billion. We divide that by 4 billion shares. And we get a calculated stock price of $16. They're trading at $10, so they're trading at a 38% discount. It's a buy according to the model. Do you think it's a buy or sell? Let me know in the comments. There are 36 companies in the same industry as Ford, and if they have a number in red, they're worse than the median. If they have a number in blue, they're better. They spend a lot on CapEx, 8.5 billion. But there are 4 companies that spend more than them. Tesla is one of those 4. They have a really high debt to equity ratio, 3.5. That means for every dollar of equity, $3.50 of debt. They pay one of the highest dividends, second to Stellantis. They generate lots of free cash flow, 6.4 billion. It looks like I didn't update the color coding. You have to ignore that. They rank 5th in market cap, 39 billion. For decades, it was GM and Ford, number 1 and number 2. Now they're tiny relative to Tesla. They're trading below book value. Their price to book is 0.9. A PE of 11. That means their market cap is 11 times their earnings. The most important ratio is price to free cash flow, and they're number 1. They have the lowest price to free cash flow, 6.1. And they have a great price to sales at 0.2. Also the lowest on this list. They generate a ton of revenue, second to Toyota, but they're not growing much anymore. Their 5-year annual revenue growth rate is only 3%. Look at NIO, 50%. And their stock is trading pretty close to its 52-week low. So it could be a really good time to buy the stock. Because if you bought it any time this year, you would have probably paid double digits. 10, 11, 12, 13, maybe $14. So it's a huge discount now. If you put $10,000 into this company 10 years ago and reinvested the dividends, you would have been over $20,000 in 2021. If you're still holding on, you'd be at $11,000 today, an 8% return, below a 1% annual return. To summarize, I have them trading at a 38% discount. I give them a ranking of 6 out of 10. I think it's a good value. You do get your consistent dividend. I think short term, for example, if you're going to hold it for 6 months or a year, I think it's a good value right now. I'm not too sure about long term. This company and GM are dinosaurs, and I think they're getting further and further behind the pack. They do have amazing ratios, 9 out of 10. Look at that price to free cash flow, 6. Financials are decent, 6 out of 10. Revenue looks real good. Free cash flow is positive, but it's a lot lower than 2021. Let's go through their income statement. This is the third quarter of 23, third quarter of 24. This is when someone wants to buy a car, but they can't afford it. So this company provides a loan. That's 2.6 billion. And then the sale of car and parts, 41 billion. This is 2023, and it's up in both categories, 43 billion in 2024, and the credit portion is 3.1 billion. Let's see if they give a different breakdown of the revenue. Here's a different breakdown. Of the 46 billion, $42 billion is a sale of vehicles, parts, and accessories. $500 million is used vehicles. Services, $840 million. Services is like repairs. They actually footnoted A. Let's see what they say. Includes extended service contract revenue. So that includes the warranty. And they receive $1.1 billion of leasing income and $2 billion of financing income. Here is a breakdown by car. Of the $46 billion, $26 billion is Ford Blue, $1.2 billion is Ford Model E, $16 billion is Ford Pro, and $3 billion is Ford Credit. Below revenue is cost of revenue. These are all the expenses directly tied to generating the revenue. The rent of the warehouse, the payroll for those employees, the cost of vehicle parts, that's all part of cost of revenue. So that's $40 billion. Below that is SG&A, selling, general, and administrative expenses, $2.5 billion. These are all the costs not directly tied to making the product. Then there's Ford credit interest, operating, and other expenses, $2.7 billion. So total expenses, $45 billion, which is pretty close to their total revenue. So their operating income is $880 million. Last year, $1.1 billion. They spent $270 million of interest on their debt. That's $50 million lower than last year, $324 million. Other income and expenses, $114 million. They footnote that, note 4. They give a breakdown of the $114 million. They receive $367 million of interest on their investments. They also receive $123 million of royalties. That's when they license out their brand. So if other companies make their cars, they get paid a royalty. They receive $147 million of equity income. This is what they earn on equity method investments. So their pre-tax income, $869 million, a $27 million tax credit. So their net income is $900 million. Last year it was $1.2 billion. Their shares outstanding went down a little bit. It was a little over $4 billion last year. Now it's a little under $4 billion. So EPS is net income, $892 million over shares outstanding, $4 billion. So EPS is 22 cents. Last year it was 30 cents. Let's take a look at the balance sheet. Their current assets, $121 billion. Current liabilities, $101 billion. Current ratio is current assets over current liabilities. It's above a 1. You want to make sure it's above a 1. They have $40 billion of cash and marketable securities. That's footnote note 7. Let's see what makes up the $25 billion and $15 billion. Here's the $25 billion. It looks like they have some government securities, $3.2 and $2.7 billion. Non-government securities, $1 billion. Corporate debt, $1.7 billion. This is all pretty low risk, low yield investments. Then they have $16 billion of money market funds. That makes up the $24.9 billion. For marketable securities, the $15 billion. $6 billion of corporate debt. Non-U.S. investments, $2.2 billion. And U.S. government investments, $4.7 and $1.8 billion. When they provide a loan to someone that wants to buy a car, that's an asset on their balance sheet. So the finance receivable is $46 billion. But they usually take on debt to fund those loans. And you can see $80 billion of debt down here in Ford Credit, another $49 billion right here. $16 billion of accounts receivables. This is when they sell to other companies on credit. So this is what's owed to them, and they should receive it within a year. $16 billion of inventory. Here's a breakdown of the inventory. $6 billion of raw materials, work in process, and supplies. $9.5 billion of finished products. This $9.5 billion is completed cars they can sell. The $6.2 billion still has to be worked on before they can sell it. They have another $56 billion of receivables. So 56 plus 46, that's $102 billion of receivables. And they took on $50 billion and $80 billion of debt, $130 billion of debt. $21 billion of operating leases. This is when they lease an asset from another company. $40 billion of property. This may include land. They have $5.5 billion of investments in other companies. They may be investing in smaller car manufacturers. $17 billion of deferred income taxes. That just means they paid more in taxes than they should have. So they're going to receive a tax credit. That happens a lot with GAAP accounting because there's different depreciation methods for GAAP accounting when compared to the way the IRS depreciates assets. It's just a timing thing. Over the course of the year, it zeroes everything out and is back to normal. Let's look at the liability section. Lots of liabilities, $230 billion. $25 billion of accounts payable. This is how much money they owe when they buy on credit. Other liabilities and deferred revenue, that's $26 billion. They break that down. So they owe $13 billion To dealers, deferred revenue $2.5 billion. This is when a company gets paid for something before they provide the product or service. So it's carried on the balance sheet as a liability. Employee benefits $2.3 billion. They also have $28 billion in the non-current section, $28.4 billion. I'll show you that in the balance sheet. Here's the $28.4 billion in the non-current section. Non-current means they owe it beyond 12 months. If it's in the current section, then they owe this money within 12 months. So they owe $101 billion within 12 months, and they owe about $130 billion beyond 12 months. They have a ton of debt, $19 billion, which doesn't include credit, $80 billion including credit. Assets minus liabilities equals equity, $43 billion of equity. They raised $23 billion from selling their business, selling stock. They profited $31 billion from running their business. Retained earnings is how profitable the company is historically. Some people have negative retained earnings. That's called accumulated deficit. And they bought back $2.4 billion of their own stock. Treasury stock is stock buybacks. Let's look at a statement of cash flows. This is the trailing 9 months. Here's 2024. Operating cash flow is how much cash the company generated from running their day-to-day business. $12.4 billion. Pretty much exactly the same as last year. The way to calculate operating cash flow, you start with net income, $4.1 billion. You add back depreciation and amortization, $5.6 billion. You pretty much add or subtract all the non-cash items on the income statement. Then you adjust for changes in working capital. In their investing section, they had a cash outflow of $18 billion. They acquired a lot of finance receivables and operating leases, $45 billion. Say Company X provided auto loans. Company X could sell all their auto loans to Ford, and Ford would pay that company $45 billion for all of those assets, all of those receivables. They had a cash outflow of $3.7 billion in their financing section. They paid $2.5 billion in dividends, a lot lower than last year. Last year it was $4.4 billion. The stock price was probably a lot higher last year. That's why they paid more dividends. And they bought back $276 million of common stock. They paid down $1.2 billion of short-term debt. They added $44 billion of long-term debt. It's a lot of debt. And they paid down $36 billion of long-term debt. Let's look at a stock on Simply Wall Street. Its last price, $10, $40 billion market cap. Pretty much flat in the past week. Down 20% in the past year. This stock chart goes back to 1990. It was $13 a share. It hit a high of $38 in 1999. Over the next 4 years, it came down to about $8. That was in 2003. It did have a little bit of a run-up to $17 in 2004, but then the Great Recession came and it fell to below $3. Imagine getting it below $3. Over the next 2 years, it did come up to $13, $14. Then it kind of traded sideways for a bunch of years. It got down to $5. I remember talking to someone about this, saying I want to buy the stock, and I was so pissed when it ran up to $20. But I probably wouldn't have sold. I probably would have held on. Even if I didn't sell, I'd still be up right now, but up only 100%. At one point, I would have been up like 300+%. Simply Wall Street is real bearish. They're at 636. They say the stock is 58% overvalued. They show their discounted cash flow model in Simply Wall Street. They have a pretty high WACC, 10.9%. It's usually a lot lower on this website. Right here, 10.86%. They forecast 10 years of free cash flow. I only do 4 in my model. So they do 2025, and that's the present value. They predict $6.3 billion of free cash flow in 2025, but when you present value it to today, it's $5.7 billion. Then up again in 26, but a big drop in 27 to $5.7 billion. Then a massive drop in 2028, $1.8 billion. And it keeps going down. Wow. Down to under $1.1 billion in 2034. So they present value the next 10 years of free cash flow. They also do terminal value. So they get a value of the company of $25 billion. $25 billion divided by 4 billion shares, so a price of $6.36. 24 analysts think this stock is undervalued. Their price target is 12. Their revenue hasn't really gone up that much. It was $147 billion in 2013. 9 years later, it was still pretty much the same number. It has come up in the past couple of years, though. It's up to $183 billion, their highest ever. They have a ton of debt, $115 billion in 2013. Its highest was $175 billion. It's down to $157 billion. But you can see how much higher their debt is than their equity. Their equity is only $44 billion, so a 350% debt-to-equity ratio. That means their debt is 3.5 times their equity. and they have $27 billion of cash, which is only 5% of their debt. So that's just enough cash to service the debt. The way I look at it, a company needs to have at least 5% of their debt, because I assume the average company has a 5% interest rate. If you round their debt down to $150 billion, 10% is $15 billion. So 5% is $7.5 billion. So actually they have plenty. I was doubling 15 in my head. So I thought $30 billion was 5% of 150. But now that I do the math, they only need $7.5 billion of cash to service the debt. The CEO's salary was $1 million in 2017. Now it's $1.7 million. Chris Farley's brother, Jim Farley, is a CEO. Compensation $27 million. Tenure as CEO, 4 years. In the past year, there's been one insider buy, 2 sells. 59% of the company is owned by institutions, 40% by the general public, and 1% by insiders. Their biggest shareholder is Vanguard at 9%, then State Street, BlackRock, GO 2%, UBS 1%, William Ford 0.5%, and last on the list is Renaissance Technologies, 0.25%. Their employee count has been going down. It was 181,000 in 2013. Now it's 177,000. And the ticker trades in lots of places: New York Stock Exchange, London Stock Exchange, Mexican Bolsa, Deutsche Börse, Swiss, Xetra, Wiener Börse, Kazakhstan, Lima Bolsa, Colombia Bolsa, BATS Europe, Sao Paulo Bolsa, the Buenos Aires Stock Exchange, and the NEO. So if you want to get a copy of my discounted cash flow model, watch the video in the top right corner.